Well, we weren't actually ready to go live. So just give me a second here, and once the camera turns on, I got a backup camera, I'll start talking. Oh, man. Okay, here we go. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Level Up Lando, the show that takes you inside the struggles, the trials, the tribulations, and the occasional success. That is the everyday challenge of my life as I pursue my never-ending effort of trying to level up. I am your host, landing like a plane, and I'm coming to you from Truscott Studios, also known as my bedroom, right here in lovely Aspen, Colorado. Today is Tuesday, May 13th at 3:22 p.m. And it has been a little while since I have recorded a show. It's May 13th, and the last time I did a podcast was April 28th. So it's been about 2 weeks, and I gotta say, it's been a relatively rough 2 weeks. I am just coming off the last week of making self-sabotaging decisions and choices that don't help me to get where I'm trying to go, and if I were to be more critical, they actually hinder me from getting to where I'm trying to go. And I was talking with my dad this morning about that, and his advice, which is good advice. It's the advice I'd give you, which is get back in your lane. I think I did a podcast a little while ago about this idea, but when you get out of your lane and you're driving on the highway, you don't spend time trying to figure out why you got out of your lane. You just correct and immediately get back in your lane. And furthermore, any time that you do spend while you're out of your lane trying to figure out what got you out of your lane is dangerous. It increases the risk of something going catastrophically wrong. So, one of the things my dad likes to point out to me is I spend a lot of time thinking about like how I fucked up and how I made a bad choice and how I made an unhealthy decision. And that thinking about that is actually delaying me from getting back on track, back in my lane, and back to where I want to be heading and going. And he's right. He's right about that. That's something that I do. It's just a personal quirk of mine. It's the way my brain works. I like trying to understand why things happened, mostly so that when they come up again or a similar situation comes up, I have that deep understanding so that I don't make the same decision again. Because I am a slow learner and I learn the hard way, and I have to make the same mistakes multiple times before I finally stop and choose a different option when I'm presented with the same set of circumstances or a similar set of circumstances. So today is the day that I am trying to get back into my lane. I just came back from a run, trying to get that mojo going, trying to find some confidence and some evidence that I am winning. And unfortunately, this last week has been one that has been kind of a pity party. There's been a lot of doubt, and from that doubt has spawned, unhealthy choices. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't smoking weed, and now I've been drinking and smoking weed, and I haven't been really taking care of the little things that are necessary in order to make my business successful. And the truth is, I don't have a lot of money and I don't have a lot of time to dilly dally. And I just basically spent a week or so sort of twiddling my thumbs and really not being productive. And another thing that I was explaining to my dad is that when you get that like negative momentum, that it's hard to find the inspiration or the motivation to get back to work and get back to making my dreams come true, which is why it sort of perpetuated for a week. And today I was listening to a podcast. It was Chris Williamson and Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey was talking about how when you have that negative momentum going and it's a struggle to find the motivation, even just to get out of bed to try to be productive, or in my case, like just as an example, to go for a run, that what's really important is to give yourself a little win. And that's what the run did for me today. The run is relatively easy. It's a 2.5 mile run. It's on a beautiful trail. It's outside. It's in the nature. I saw a bear today. The bear was in the trail, and I had to ask it to move, and thankfully it did move. But the idea that Dave was kind of painting was that when you're dealing with like a mountain of debt, that the debt snowball is psychologically one of the better approaches to trying to pay off debt, because you get a small win when you pay off the smallest loan first. Even though mathematically it doesn't make the most sense, you should be trying to pay off the highest debt with the highest interest rate first. That if you pay off the lowest debt, when you finally pay it off, that's a win. And now you have some evidence to provide you with this idea that you're back on track and that you're winning and that you're making progress and that you're gaining ground and, pushing the ball forward. And so from that point of view, I really resonate deeply with that, because for the last week, I have been struggling to get myself to do anything that is positive or productive. I've done a couple things. One of the new things that I've been doing lately, that alarm that just went off, is I've been trying to do 100 push-ups a day, and I can't do 100 push-ups in a row. So I set 10 alarms every hour, and every time the alarm goes off, I do 10 push-ups. And so in that method, I'm able to do 100 push-ups over the course of 10 hours, 10 push-ups an hour for 10 hours. And I would say in the last 10 days, I've done it 7 of them. There's maybe 2 or 3 that I've missed where I just didn't do it at all. I wasn't feeling it. The alarm would go off. I just dismiss it, kind of like I just did. But on the upside is like, I'll do the 10 push-ups when I get done with this. It just went off right now. I should do them right now, but I don't want to make you watch me do 10 push-ups. But the point is I can do 20 push-ups in a row. So at 4:38, it's 3:38 now. If I were to do 28, if I were to miss these 10 push-ups, I could do 20 at 4 o'clock and make up the difference. So that's one positive thing. That's one example of a small win that I have as evidence to counter this sort of feeling of being out of integrity. That's what I was telling my dad is why I get kind of like down. And I wouldn't say I'm depressed, but I'm just really critical of my actions and my behaviors, because I say I want one thing and then I make decisions that don't help propel me in that direction. In fact, they help propel me in the opposite direction. And so there's a part of like my spirit and soul that's like, yay, we're working for ourselves. We're doing it. We're winning. We're the, master of our own destiny. And then there's another part of me that recognizes, even if that's true, at least for this last week, I have been making decisions that are not in alignment with that. and that are what I would consider to be self-sabotaging. And so I just saw a video the other day that basically shared this idea that self-sabotaging isn't a coincidence. And the reason that you self sabotage is because your soul, your spirit is expanding and you are growing as a human and as a spiritual being. And that self sabotaging is old survival energy trying to keep you small because your soul is expanding and it doesn't want to die, which it kind of has to in order for you to expand. So that's why you go back into old habits or making self sabotaging decisions that undermine a lot of the work that you're doing. And that's exactly how I feel. It's like I'm putting in all this time and all this effort to try to make this business a successful one and to be able to pay my bills and work for myself and, be the master of my own destiny. And then, in 1 week, I make decisions. They didn't undermine it completely, but they certainly didn't help me grow it. They didn't help me make it more successful. And those are the kinds of choices I need to be making. Those are the decisions I need to be taking action on a daily basis. And for whatever reason, which I know the reason, and it's because I was nominated to run for trustee at the Eagles Club. And on May 6th, we had the election and I lost. And the truth is, I could have won if I wanted it. I could have rallied the people and I got enough people in that room to vote for me. But I didn't really truly want it. I was answering the call to be a leader and to step up in the absence of somebody else wanting to do it. But the truth is, there was somebody else who wanted to do it, and that's the person who won. And he's a friend, and so I'm not upset about him winning, but I am upset about how I lost, which was a bunch of the people who, in my opinion, were deliberately and intentionally trying to hurt the club, namely the bartenders who all walked out in a, protest of the management and also in a collaborated effort to leave the bar with no staff, all showed up to this meeting, which they never go to the meetings, in an attempt to make sure that I didn't win, so to vote against me. And so it was very clear there was like a cohesive opposition. And while I don't particularly mind that kind of thing, I don't mind, it doesn't bother me if people don't like me. That's not a problem for me. But it was just interesting how I wasn't ready for that. I didn't think I was going to win the election. I thought Nate was going to win, but I also wasn't prepared for this whole like cohort of people who basically are boycotting the club and haven't been in since I stood against them, showed up to basically prevent me from winning. And that I did take personally. That was like, oh wow, this, and again, I don't care if these people don't like me. I have no issues with them. I actually still like them. But it was sort of confronting to see these people who intentionally and deliberately are avoiding coming into the establishment come in specifically to give me the finger and to be like, fuck you specifically. So that was hard, and that was where I kind of started a downward spiral. That's when I went ahead, and I don't have very much extra money, and I spent some money on alcohol and drugs and decided to numb some of that pain instead of confronting it. And that one decision to kind of drink and get fucked up and numb my pain turned into a week of running and avoiding facing some of my emotion. So that is where we're at. That brings us to today. And, it was a week ago today that the vote happened. And it's been about a week of, I wouldn't call it partying, but for lack of a better term, partying. And that then, leaves me feeling mentally, physically, and spiritually unhealthy because I'm a very sensitive person and I'm very in tune with my body. And if I even just take one day off of taking care of myself, I feel it. I feel it both, well, I guess all three, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And again, it's just an example of this. Even though I went for a run, I wasn't eating particularly healthy. I bought frozen pizza because I just didn't want to cook. I was feeling down and out, and I had some alcohol, and I just didn't want to cook. So I went ahead and bought a frozen pizza. And then the next day, after eating a frozen pizza, I felt sluggish and lethargic and fat and inflamed and out of shape and unmotivated to make a healthy choice. And so that then continued into buying some more beer and continuing to not necessarily eat in a healthy way, which then, leaches into your mental state and your emotional state. And just really found myself bumming. It's just the best way to put it. I've been bummed out. And that's okay. Sometimes that's how it goes in life. Most of this show is about how I struggle. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But that brings us to today, where I'm trying to take some action. I heard on the podcast today, it said, action is the antidote to anxiety. And a part of my problem is I don't have a clear path forward. I'm kind of at a standstill with the business. I'm waiting for some materials to finish this video for my realtor client. And then I really don't have another client. So I need to be prospecting and going to try to get another client. And that's something I could have spent this whole last week doing. And instead, I just sort of moped around and was bummed out. So here we are today. And, it's interesting where I will give myself a little window of time to kind of feel bad or be bummed out. And then I decide that I have to get over it. I have to move on and get back to the nature of kicking ass and making myself grow and be productive. And so that was supposed to be yesterday, but Sunday night I actually got randomly invited to go see Steel Pulse, the famous reggae band who has been playing for 50 years. This is their 50th year anniversary. So that was pretty cool. Looks like this stuff. Are we running? Nope, we don't have enough storage. Okay, well, that's too bad. We're going to have to unload the memory. So that's why I do too. But I got to go to the concert on Sunday night, and so therefore I was out pretty late. I was out till like 4 a.m. on Sunday. And then yesterday, Monday, was going to be the day that I was supposed to get back to work and get back to being successful and getting these little wins that I'm talking about. And I just felt so shitty that I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to lay around and watch TV all day. So that's what I did pretty much all day yesterday. I don't think I went outside at all. And so here we are today, Tuesday, May 13th. And, trying to pick up the pieces, trying to get back to, being the version of me that I'm proud of and that I, feel like is in integrity and in line with accomplishing what I say I want to do. And I just got done with a run. And so I just got done with a run, made a little bit of food, got some breakfast in me, some healthy food. And here we are. It's now 3:40 and I got 10 push-ups to do, which will help me to continue to get these little wins. But the truth is I got a lot of other work to do. So let's take a look here at the little yellow book of accountability. This is another thing. I just haven't looked in this thing in over a week. So let's see. I got to pay the bills. Uh-oh, who's calling? Oh, I'm going to have to call him back. Man, I really need to get my financials together. That's really what I need to do. Finances. I need to create a business plan. I need to do a profit and loss statement. I need to sit down and talk to my accountant about how to track my finances and taxes. We've got video to edit. I did a little bit of research on the AI editing that I'm looking to do, and there's so many of them. I still got to do some more research, but I've kind of narrowed it down to like 3 or 4. I got to make an appointment to talk to my mentor. So I went and tried to practice flying the drone yesterday, and it crashed. It just fell out of the sky, kind of. And it's because I was in such a remote area that it lost like GPS signal from the satellites, and just kind of like, I'm not sure what happened. I wasn't really near anything. I was pretty much out in the open. So there wasn't anything for me to hit, but it lost signal. It told me on the remote, like the transmission is lost. And usually when that happens, it just takes a second or two. It'll hover, and it takes a second or two for it to reconnect, and then I can fly it again. But not this time. So the drone hit a tree and crashed, and it broke the propellers, and hopefully nothing else. I ordered some new propellers, which will be here today, and that should hopefully help me figure out if it's really broken or not. I've got to renew my drone care. I've got to invoice. And then the paper. I've got to write a couple. Steward and the agenda. So that's pretty good. So see, this is part of my issue here, is that sometimes I feel like I don't have a direction forward. Sometimes I feel like I'm lost and I can't see the path and I don't know how to go. And then I use this little yellow book of accountability, and I come up with 5 or 10 things that I can do to push the ball forward. And so I'm already feeling a little bit more confident. So that's good. That's the little yellow book of accountability. Let's just go back. Yeah, the virtual tours, the golf pass, the budget, and debt. I should put that in the financial area. So I'm starting to actually try to take on my mountain of debt, which is around $100,000. And most of that is student loans. So trying to figure it out, and it feels a little daunting, it feels a little intimidating. But as I was listening to this podcast today, the guy, Dave Ramsey, was talking about how when you have a clearly defined pathway, it makes it much easier to go because you have the path. He's like, if you're trying to get to Florida and you know which road you're going to take, you can put your foot on the accelerator because you have a plan. So I think that's a little bit of what I'm doing with the yellow book, is kind of creating a plan as I go. However, I need a master plan. I need the bigger plan. He's talking about how when you get thinking strategically, you're able to take a bird's eye view of your problem. And when you're not right up close to it, you stop running into the wall. You learn you can go right and left and around the wall to get where you're going, but you can really only see that from, a zoomed out position. And so I'm not particularly great at that. I am pretty good at living in the moment and being present, which kind of prevents me from maybe taking a bird's eye view. So I've got a few strategies I've got to employ, trying to take a bird's eye view, trying to come up with a pathway and a plan, trying to get these small wins to help me. Sitting down and doing this podcast is another example of just creating positive momentum, trying to get out of this negative momentum and back into the positive momentum. Because when I'm in the positive momentum, it feels great. It feels just like I'm living my dream and I'm working for myself and I'm the master of my own destiny and I'm the one driving the bus. and all those cliches and analogies that you come up with to make yourself feel empowered and not like a victim. Even though this last week I didn't really feel like a victim, I feel like I was consciously choosing to make, you know, unproductive decisions. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the old Daily Stoic here. This is the Daily Stoic, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and Honor Living by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. And we last read from here on April 28th. So we're going to jump all the way up to May 13th. And again, before we read from the book, I'll just try to surmise where I'm at. Feeling defeated and trying to get back to my feet. You know, I feel like I've been knocked down, and now I'm trying to get back to my feet to find some stability and to find my drive to continue to push forward and find success, fight for success, be success, you know. And I've got all these little index cards up on my wall right in front of my desk, and they're all definitely variations of the same idea, which is trying to overcome yourself. So I'll read them to you. Avoidance causes suffering. You should probably just give up. Take action. How to make money. Sell more units. Make it worth more. Action is the antidote to anxiety. This is just old survival energy trying to keep me small. Start by starting. If you're going to do it right. Victory over yourself brings joy. So those are the 5, 7, 8 cards that I've got just pinned to my wall here as motivation and inspiration to, I think, my favorite one of all of them. I mean, taking action is definitely the answer. It's almost always the answer. Whether you're feeling depressed, whether you're feeling excited, whether you're feeling motivated or unmotivated, how you feel is irrelevant to what you do. And that is why taking action is the answer almost all the time. Even if you're taking action and it takes you the wrong direction, it often is faster to make a decision, go the wrong way, realize you've gone the wrong way, turn around, get going back the right way, than it is to dwell and think about either why you haven't taken the action or why you took action that you're not proud of and that kind of hurt you. So I really like taking action a lot, but the one that I think resonates the most for me is victory over yourself brings joy. And that to me is, you know, a 5-word sentence that basically is the essence of personal growth. And for me, in my personal life, personal growth and personal development are the name of the game. I mean, there's nothing that I am more excited to do than to wake up and try to be better than I was yesterday. I just love life. I love the thrill and the excitement of, and the discomfort that goes with growing myself and being better, which is why I get so down on myself when I am not better, when I wake up and I make choices that not only am I not better than I was yesterday, I might be worse than I was yesterday, which is just part of the human experience. You know, it's part of the game of life. Is there are days when you don't win, and some days you choose not to win on purpose. And that's sort of what I've done for the last week, and that's what bums me out. It makes me sad to think that, you know, I've been given this amazing miracle of a life and this day and this moment right now, and that I have my health, be it physical, mental, or emotional. And that's despite having, you know, all the things I need to be truly grateful and humble, that I squander that stuff. You know, and I take it for granted, and I waste it, and I make choices that hurt my body and that hurt my mind and that hurt my emotional health on purpose. I make those choices consciously, eyes wide open, knowing full well what the consequences of those choices will be. And then I make them anyway. So that's the part of me that's beating myself up. That's the part of me that's, particularly critical. And that's the part of me that I'm trying to overcome by getting these little wins, going for a run, doing the podcast, making that little list I just made in the yellow book, and now reading from the Daily Stoic. So there you have it. Being particularly critical of myself for having made choices that I knew the consequences were not the kind of choice I should be making. And I made it anyway, again and again and again until today. And I guess that's what's good about life is that, the past is the past and I can't go back. And so therefore I have just to be grateful for today and for right now. And like my dad was saying at the beginning of this conversation, just get back in your lane. You don't have to think about how you got out of your lane. You don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to wonder why you're out of your lane. Forget all that. It doesn't matter. You can't go back anyway. Just get back in your lane. And so this is my best attempt at getting back in my lane. I'm trying to do it on camera in front of you on the chance that you're struggling too and that you're going through a hard time and that you're beating yourself up because you made choices where you knew the consequences of those choices were not consequences that were going to help you or get you where you wanted to go, and you made them anyway. And so that's why I really like this saying, victory over yourself is what brings joy. And so I'm trying to get that victory. I'm trying to grow and be better than I was. And I basically have failed that for the last week. And it's disappointing, honestly. It's disappointing. But that is all energy I'm trying to shed myself of and to move into a space of I'm perfect, whole, and complete just the way that I am. And that part of the human experience is making decisions that are against your own general interest. And that self-sabotage is survival energy. The thing that said that was talking about the difference between surviving and thriving. And when I am thriving, I feel alive and electric and magnetic. And like I can take on the biggest of problems and the biggest of hurdles and challenges and obstacles and circumstances, and I'll take them on with grace, and I will overcome them with finesse, and I welcome with open arms adversity. And when I am surviving, I am hiding from adversity. I do not want to have to face it. I am barely making it. And if I have to face anything, another challenge on top of all that, it's just gonna crush me. And so those are the two, on one you're surviving and one you're thriving. And if it's a choice, I would much rather be thriving, and I believe it is a choice. So today I am doing my best, despite looping back into surviving, to be thriving. So let's read from the Daily Stoic and see what it has to say about how do I get back to thriving, because that's what I'm trying to do, and it feels like I'm just surviving. So here we go. May 13th, fueling the habit bonfire. Every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, walking by walking and running by running. Therefore, if you want to do something, make a habit of it. If you don't want to do that, don't, but make a habit of something else instead. The same principle is at work in our state of mind. When you get angry, you've not only experienced that evil, but you've also reinforced a bad habit, adding fuel to the fire. Epictetus Discourses 2.18.1-5. We are what we repeatedly do, Aristotle said. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. The Stoics add to that, we are a product of our thoughts, such as your habitual thoughts. Such also will be the character of your mind. Marcus Aurelius put it. Think about your activities of the last week, as well as what you have planned for today and the week that follows. The person you'd like to be or the person you see yourself as. How closely do your actions actually correspond to him or her? Which fire are you fueling? Which person are you becoming? That is the most apt journal entry or daily stoic entry. I mean, I literally was just talking about exactly that. And that's why I love the daily stoic is sometimes you read from it and it's like, okay, I got it. I don't need to try to dwell on this lesson. And other times it's exactly what you need to reframe your situation. And so the truth is, this last week, I have chosen to engage in habits and decisions that are not helping me get where I want to go. And today and going forward into the week, I'm going to change that because your thoughts are things. And if you want to know what you're thinking, look at what you have. And so if what I have is upset and criticism and a little bit of anger and disappointment at myself because of the things I'm thinking, well, that's what I've got in my life. And so I need to reframe, reshift, stop, breathe, calibrate, center myself, and get back to source, get back to the knowing of the idea that I am perfect, whole, and complete, that there's nothing wrong, there's nothing broken, there's nothing that needs to be fixed. Everything is happening exactly how it's supposed to. And from that place, start realigning myself with the choices and the newer habits that I have put into place to help me get where I'm going, like doing 100 push ups a day. That is one of those newer habits that I just decided I'm going to start trying to do 100 push ups a day. I heard somebody say 100 push ups a day is a life hack. You do 100 push ups a day and you watch how your life changes in every way, both physically, but also financially, and also socially, and even just personally. So I said, screw it. I've got the time in my day to do 10 push-ups an hour, and so let's go. And I've been doing it. Another thing is I go for my run, which is a very meditative running thing. I get out on the nature. Today I saw a bear, which is kind of crazy. But I'm alongside the river. When I get to the end of the run, I splash some water on my face and I take a moment of gratitude, and I thank the universe for my life and for my day and for my health and my friends and my family. And even today, I thanked it for my struggles and the opportunity to grow and learn from my struggle. So I am getting back there. I'm slowly, inching my way back into empowerment and owning the choices and the consequences of those choices. So that's where that is at. And, I think that's a good place to leave you guys. So hopefully through this episode, hopefully through watching the show in general, particularly if you're struggling, if you're going through a difficult time like I tend to be, which is kind of the point of this show anyway, Level Up Lando, is to show you how I overcome that and how I either take it in stride or eat it on the chin and then still have to get up and stumble my way forward. And so if you are in a similar place emotionally, and if you are being critical of yourself, let me leave you with the idea that I'm proud of you. You're doing a good job, and you don't have to worry if things are working out the way that they're supposed to. If they were supposed to happen a different way, they would have. So recognize nothing's wrong, nothing needs to be fixed, and that any judgment that you have of yourself is because you want more for yourself and you believe that you're worthy of that. And any self sabotaging decisions that you're making are an attempt to undermine what you truly know, which is that you are worthy. And if you doubt that at all, just look at the fact that you're alive. If you're breathing, even if you don't have your health, if you're laid up in a bed, paralyzed and, with muscle atrophy and you cannot move, but you're alive and breathing, there's a reason for it. And I believe the reason is that you have a gift to give. And when you have a gift to give, that means that there's somebody out there to receive it. And your job is to figure out how to get it to them. How do you give your gift away? How are you able to gift what your gift is and let somebody be the receiver of the gift. And that's what I'm trying to do with the show. That's what I'm trying to do with my life. And I hope I'm doing it. You know, it's not easy. I can tell you that much. And so if you also feel like it's not easy, I can relate. And all I can say is that nothing truly deeply satisfying comes from being easy. It just doesn't. It's because it's hard that when you find a win, when you get to victory, when you overcome yourself, it feels so good. It feels so good. And so I am trying to get back to that good feeling because right now it doesn't feel so good. Although I got to admit, after what 40 minutes here, I feel a lot better. You know, which is why I like to do these podcasts, even though I've got an audience of zero. Well, one. Hi, Chris Padilla. So yeah, one of my best friends will watch my podcasts on occasion. And so, but basically I'm talking to nobody. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to the universe. And I'm doing that with the intent of helping myself, you know, making myself go from where I was feeling before I did this podcast, which was a little lost, with no direction, to having some sort of actionable task list. And even now, emotionally, trying to cheer you guys up, I've cheered myself up. And so that brings us back to this idea that victory over yourself brings joy. So find ways to create little wins. Don't go for the big win. Don't go for trying to become a millionaire overnight. You know, do the debt snowball where you take your, you know, lowest interest, your smallest debt, and you get it taken care of. And that gives you the confidence to take on the next thing. And the more skills you get, the more you grow, the better you become, the easier it gets. And that's just the way of life. And so I bless you on your path, and I hope that you're able to find new skills and new talents and new aspects of your own character and your own person that you're proud of and that you embody and that you recognize as your gift to give. And that then you find somebody to give it to. So this is me landing like a plane, giving my gift to you. I'm landing like a plane, and I'm taking off.